Hey guys, my name is Carl, and today I want to share some tips and tricks for newer Street Fighter V players. Okay, first off, stop jumping so much. Don't lie to me, I know you're doing it, but hey, if you're getting away with it, do it. But this cannot be your main way of getting damage, okay? Jumping should be a calculated risk. But what are the pros and cons of jumping exactly? Jumping attacks gives you access to some of the most damaging combos in the game. Another big pro is you don't need to think about what the opponent is doing. You can simply bypass neutral or ground game. So it's a very brain dead but risky way to be offensive. Why is it risky? Because every character has at least one attack that is designed to beat a jumping opponent. These are commonly called anti-airs, or AA for short. Typically, you'll encounter two types of anti-airs. One that requires a directional input and a specific button, like Bison's crouching heavy punch, or a motion special attack, like Ryu's dragon punch, aka DP for short. Ryu's dragon punch is done by forward, down, down forward, plus any punch. This is the infamous Z motion you will find in the command list. Although, depending on the character, you may want to use a specific button when doing your DP. But Ryu has both types. He can also do down and heavy punch for an anti-air. Depending on the distance, you'll want to consider one or the other. But typically you want the dragon punch anti-air for the knockdown. With a little practice, it's possible to react to a jumping opponent and use anti-airs to get free damage. This is a crucial skill. You cannot let the opponent consistently jump in on you, because if it hits, they can do a big combo, and if you block the jumping attack, they get a free opportunity to pressure or throw. Let's go to the training mode and set up a drill to help you practice your anti-airs. First off, at the basic settings tab, go to shortcut settings and enable restart battle. Go back and scroll to the dummy settings. Now scroll right until you see playback recording. Go to Action Recordings Settings, Recording Slot 1, Start Recording. Now we want to maintain this spacing Ken is at. Slot 1, hit light punch, then immediately walk 1 square forward, then 2 squares back, then hold down back for about a second like this. Hit start, then go back, press L3 to restart position, then go to slot 2. At slot 2, just like before, jab, then walk 1 square forward, then 2 squares backward, then neutral jump, and block for about 1 second. At slot 3, do the same sequence, but end with a jumping medium kick, then hold down back for about 1 second again. And lastly, at slot 4, do the same basic sequence again, but end in a neutral jump, followed by another neutral jump, and block. Go to Action, Playback Settings, and enable all 4 slots. Now walk back and forth at different spacings and try anti-airing first with a basic one, like reuse crouching heavy punch, and then try doing it with dragon punch, if you got one. With some practice, this could help begin to develop the muscle memory needed to anti-air consistently. Cross-ups. While we're on the topic of jumping, let's talk about cross-ups. But first, let me remind you about how you should be blocking. Typically, you want to hold down back to block, because you can block all attacks except for overheads and generic jumping attacks by doing this. So what are overheads? These are usually a command normal that are designed to hit a crouching opponent. Not all characters have them, but they are slow enough so that you can react to them, and they are punishable on block. Ibuki and Chun are the only 2 characters with a safe overhead. As for jumping attacks, they must be blocked by standing up and holding back. Which brings us to cross-ups. These primarily refer to jumping attacks that are timed and spaced so that it hits the opponent's back. To block a cross-up, you must hold forward instead of back. If done right, you will see a cross-up counter appear to the left. All characters except for Balrog can do at least one jumping cross-up. I'm mentioning this because most new players either don't know it exists or would not be prepared to block them consistently. You will need experience to know when a jumping attack will cross up to begin with. But there are a couple ways to deal with a cross up. But for now, I would recommend trying jump back light punch. You can use cross ups to get some easy and damaging combos with a little awareness and practice. A lot of new players don't use the 2 main ways to wake up. There's a quick rise and a back rise. The quick rise is done by tapping down or pressing any 2 punches when knocked down. This is the fastest way to get up and a good default to use. The back rise is done by tapping back or pressing any 2 kicks when knocked down. This one creates more distance between you and the opponent, but it's slightly slower. It can be useful to do in some situations, especially when fighting characters with command grabs that usually like to fight up close, such as Zangief and Laura. Ideally, you want to mix up both quick rise and back rise. This way, the opponent can't autopilot their pressure when they knock you down. Maintaining map advantage. Ideally, you always want to push or walk your opponent towards the corner. I know you don't want to get too close to the opponent, but eventually, you'll need to get more comfortable playing at closer ranges. However, do not walk yourself into the corner. That's a good way to make it easier for the opponent to beat you. Being cornered is bad because it's harder to avoid pressure, since you can no longer backdash away. It gives them access to corner-only combos, and it can even allow them to set up a mix-up you have to guess against. Some characters can actually use specific combos to switch sides and maintain map advantage. And lastly, don't forget to throw towards the corner. You can forward throw by pressing light punch and light kick together, but there's also a back throw done by pressing back and light punch and light kick. This is a really easy and effective way of pushing the opponent towards the corner that you should be taking advantage of. Basic block punishment. There's special attacks and even normals that are unsafe on block. In the lower ranks especially, you'll encounter a lot of wild Ken and Ryus that can't stop doing Dragon Punch, primarily on their wake up or as a means to escape pressure. However, these attacks are very punishable on block. Only the EXDP is fully invincible. The light punch version beats throws. But besides that, they can be interrupted, but there's a very tight window to do so. Nevertheless, it's imperative that you bait these out and punish heavily with a combo. Also, look out for random critical arts, especially on wake up. These do require 3 EX bars, so it happens less frequently, but they are far more damaging. Critical arts are fully invincible, but usually very punishable on block. Be on the lookout for Tatsu, the kick that Ryu and Ken are known for. Ken's in particular, his heavy kick Tatsu, is notorious in the lower ranks. It's -4 on block, so it's unsafe, but it's commonly used as a means of getting in and creating a mix-up of either throw or DP next. This is a fake mix-up, since there's a 4-frame window to interrupt. But keep in mind, it's only -2 on block, if he's in V-Trigger 1. You can still try to challenge here to stop the mix-up, but your fastest attack can be beaten by an EXDP or critical art. There are other ways around this though. You can V-reversal it, possibly duck under, or use specific tricks. Over time, you'll need to get used to block punishing more attacks, but for now, getting consistent with these basic ones can go a long way. Speaking of punishable attacks, let's talk about sweeps, aka down and heavy kick. These should be done on reaction, either as a block punish or whiff punish tool. A whiff refers to when an attack completely misses. If this happens, there's a short window of opportunity to punish during the recovery phase. If you can successfully do this, it would be a whiff punish. Some attacks are possible to whiff punish on reaction, and others would require a prediction if it's even possible. This skill isn't expected of a beginner, but I want you to be aware of it at least. You can cancel your sweep into V-trigger to make it safe. This can potentially give you a free mix-up pending on the character. It's not always the best idea to do this though. Sometimes it can be very unsafe, pending on the character and trigger used. Other than that, sweeps need to be a calculated risk. But why would you ever consider using a sweep in the first place? Well, it has really good range, and since it's done with a heavy button, it has high priority. With Street Fighter V, there is a priority system with respect to normals. Basically, the heavier button beats the lighter one if they come in contact with each other at the same time. Some heavy buttons can activate what is called a crush counter. This happens on counter hit, or if a move leaves the opponent in a counter hit state after it's blocked, like a dragon punch for example. The closer you are when you block an opponent's sweep, the bigger the potential punish is. At minimum though, you need to punish a sweep back with a sweep. If your sweep hits on counter hit, you get a crush counter sweep. This gives you what is known as a hard knockdown, which means the opponent can no longer use their quick rise or back rise. Take this opportunity to dash forward in order to push the opponent into the corner. You can sneak 4 dashes if you're quick enough. And if you're already near the corner, hop over or jump over to maintain map advantage. Challenging. Trying to attack as a means of interrupting your opponent is risky, but if you have to, try using the light normals. Stand light punch, stand light kick, crouch light punch, or crouch light kick. There are some sequences that can result in a counter hit if you do any attack but an invincible dragon punch type move or critical art. These types of sequences are known as frame traps. It's unlikely you'll encounter many players in the lower ranks doing them correctly and or consistently, but if you aren't sure, consider backdashing or just blocking as an alternative, since most precious sequences usually last for 2 to 3 buttons until they push you out of harm's way. As for which buttons you should use exactly, it depends on the character. Let's use Ryu as an example. Say I got knocked down and the opponent is right next to me, then I want to use Standing Light Punch, since it's my fastest normal. Also because I could convert this button into a combo. But if there was more distance between me and the opponent, Then I would consider crouch and light punch or stand and light kick more, since it has superior range and it's just one frame slower. Dash in. Like most of the topics covered, this also needs to be a calculated risk. When a dash occurs, you cannot cancel it right away. You are locked in until the animation is over. During this time, you are open to getting hit. So you'll have to be smart about the timing and the distance your opponent is at when picking your spots to dash. Dashing cannot be your go-to way of moving around. Instead, just walk forward and crouch block until you find the effective range you desire. Okay guys, this is the end for now. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, or if there's any Tekken or Street Fighter related topics you'd like to see me cover next. And if you happen to find any of this helpful, consider dropping me some follows on my socials. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching.